Yeah, we pull things off with cricket on this Wednesday edition of the SportsMax Zone. The first test between Zimbabwe and the West Indies in Bulawayo ended in a draw earlier on Wednesday. West Indies resuming the final day on 21 without loss for an overall lead of 89, added a further 182 runs before declaring. Raymond Reed for 58 and vice-captain Jermaine Blackwood 57 both got half centuries as the West Indies accelerated and pushed for an unlikely victory. Set a target of 272 to win. Zimbabwe survived a late charge by the West Indies bowlers to end on 134 for 6. Gudakesh Moti taking career best figures of 4 for 50. Scores in the match: West Indies 447 for 6 declared and 203 for 5 declared. Zimbabwe 379 for 9 declared and 134 for 6. Speaking after the match, West Indies captain Craig Brathwaite said he was pleased with the efforts of his team. After losing a whole day, he said, I think it was a commendable effort from us to get close to a victory. So well done to us. But also Zimbabwe batted very well. So well done to Craig and his team. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but it was commendable from the boys, with Zimbabwe coming hard with the ball and the bat. For sure, wickets with the new ball were crucial, but Zimbabwe batted well. I think overall pleased with the team effort, the guys coming together. Yeah. Mariah, Lance, draw for the West Indies in the opening test. I guess at the end of the day, you could put it down to having lost, well, a little bit more than a day to rain. A lot of the first 2 days lost to rain, and the West Indies just couldn't finish it off on the final day. But you have to say they really gave a good go at it.
Yeah, they definitely gave a good go at it. And, you know, yesterday I was trying to be optimistic, and despite you and Faz, you know, being very, very real about it, I was just hoping that the West Indies could find a way. All that is said and done, there are many aspects of this test match result that we are to celebrate and look forward to building on. And, you know, after some time, we have centuries, of course, to talk about. We have the youngster Tejnarayan Chandapol putting his bat up and saying, you know what, I can bat for long periods of time and I can create that solid foundation. We know what Craig Brathwaite can do. So, of course, that was something as well that, you know, we have to celebrate if we're looking on positives and talking about the direction that we're heading. Gudakesh Moti, somebody that we need to speak about, 4 for 50. And, you know, for some time, I felt personally that there wasn't any match winners with the ball. And I say that because, you know, our bowlers continue to be inconsistent. So for me, I actually feel really good to see him stepping up and getting those wickets for us.
Yeah, I heard Faz on yesterday's show talking about giving spinners an opportunity to develop at the international level, because West Indies selectors and captains, I have to say, have been a little bit impatient with the spin bowlers for decades. So it's difficult for a spin bowler to really flourish in the West Indies culture. But I think Moti has a lot of potential. We saw him as a junior and playing the under-19s and so on, and we thought he had a lot of ability. The point you made earlier, Mariah, regarding the West Indies' approach to this match, that with a new coaching setup and a new era of West Indies cricket with the new coach and so on, I think they went into this match with a safety-first attitude to build and be strong at the top of the game and then try to get a result after that. Of course, the rain stoppages and so on didn't help. But as it turned out, you have to think that if the entire 5 days had been played out, there would have been a good chance for a West Indies win here.
Yeah, Raymond Reed getting a half century, 58 in the second innings for the West Indies. A lot to be said about him as well, because questions going in, should he have been named to the 11 initially? Is he good enough to hold down that number 3 position in the West Indies test batting lineup? But you have to think that this performance will give him a lot of confidence going forward and may even buy him a couple of test matches, the second test against Zimbabwe and quite possibly to start the series against South Africa. So now he has the ability just to relax a little bit, be a little bit more free in his approach going forward.
Yeah.
And I think you have to consider too, Ricardo, when you mentioned about some questions when he was initially put at the number 3 spot, that happened under Phil Simmons as coach. And for the new coach to still go with Raymond Reed in the number 3 spot tells you that there is something the coaching staff is assessing that a lot of fans looking on would want to question, which is why I keep saying on the show that I don't think there are idiots running West Indies cricket. I think they make errors from time to time, and things can go wrong from time to time. But when decisions are made that appear questionable to us from thousands of miles away, I think it is important for us to seek the answers as to where the decision process is before we start criticizing. Because, as I said, I know that a lot of criticism was thrown at Phil Simmons as the coach when they had Raymond Reefer for the number 3 batting position, and Simmons isn't there anymore, and he's still at the number 3 spot. So I think there is something there that they see in him, which they have looked at for several years because he has been a fringe player for a long time, that they have faith that he can do it. And, you know, let's be fair, West Indies is not, you know, prolific with a lot of batting options and, you know, consistent batting quality. So if the coaches are thinking in a certain direction, maybe we have got to give them a chance to explain themselves and the reasons why they make some of their decisions.
The only thing I will say, Lance, is that they haven't been proven right yet, the coaching staff and the selectors.
Yeah, true.
It is 1/2 century.
Yes.
Right, and it's going to boost his confidence, but it doesn't mean that he's going to be consistent.
And consistency is the name of the game. And that's the issue we've had with West Indies cricket over the years. But one thing we don't have an issue with is linking with Fazeer Mohammed, and he joins us now. Faz, how are you doing this afternoon?
It's a little crazy this afternoon. In fact, I have to apologize for being late. And I was certainly listening to the conversation about Raymond Reefer, which remains a talking point. So let me apologize for my late arrival this afternoon. But an interesting finish in the end to a test match that seemed as if it would have been completely ruined by rain, the way it was going at the start.
Yeah. Are you surprised at how close the West Indies were able to get within 4 wickets of victory on the final day?
Not really, because again, remember, we talked about this leading up to the test match, and indeed, I would have amended my choice of 1-1 to 2-0 for the West Indies because of the inexperience of the Zimbabwean team, 4 debutants, a number of other players with barely a handful of test matches, their first test match for 18 months. Even those who would have played test cricket, it would have been spread across a long period. And even when you saw Craig Irwin, the Zimbabwean captain, attempting a reverse sweep early on in his innings and almost being trapped LBW, it told you about a team that could have buckled under pressure. And credit to the West Indies for creating that bit of pressure towards the end of the match with a turning pitch and lots of assistance for the slow bowlers to almost have a chance of pulling off a result.
Yeah, definitely, Faz. And I just want to pick up on your point yesterday, Gurukesh Moti, of course, you know, that 4 for 50, you know, shining, and your point that you made about, you know, spinners getting the opportunity to form some sort of consistency.
Well, that is going to continue to happen. And again, I was listening to a bit of the conversation during my late arrival about the issue with Raymond Reefer. And we seem to just go over these things over again. He's got 4 wickets. Yes, it was a turning pitch. Yes, it was a helpful surface. But will he get an opportunity in the same way that Jamal Warrican didn't get an opportunity, the same way that Rakeem Cornwall didn't get an opportunity? And you could go down the line of spinners. I could go back to Nehemiah Perry getting 5 wickets in the second innings of his first test match against Australia in Jamaica in 1999 and never really getting the opportunity to hold on to a spot. Dinanath Ramrine played 5 test matches in the Caribbean against South Africa, picked up 21 wickets, and then again was in and out of the West Indies team. So again, it could be argued in the case of Gurukesh Moti that you only got 4 wickets, 1 because there was a helpful trap, 2 because it was Zimbabwe, and the feeling will be the next time he bowls on a batting friendly surface or a fast bowler's pitch that he won't have these sorts of numbers, so what's the point picking him? And there we go with that cycle again. So it seems almost useless raising the point because it's sure to happen again.
Yeah.
Faz, I want to talk a little bit about Jason Holder coming out of this first test, and there are some numbers that I want us to look at first of all in terms of what Jason Holder has done in his last 6 test matches, both with the bat and with the ball. Of course, those 6 test matches coming over a 14 or 15 month period. Now, these are the bowling stats at the top there. His overall bowling stats averaging 29.46, economy 2.55, strike rate 69.1. But then look at those last 6 test matches. Just 7 wickets, best of 2 for 24, averaging 75.28. His strike rate 157.5. That's pretty much taking a wicket every 26 overs in Test cricket. And then now the batting stats, not much better for the former world #1 all-rounder. 6 matches, 146 runs, highest score of 45, average 16.22, strike rate 31.39, no hundreds, no half centuries, really struggling in that period. Of course, we know there were a couple of series he was not involved in any at all, Faz. What should we make of these numbers for Jason Holder? Apparently we've lost Faz for a second, but Mariah Lance, those numbers really not looking good for, I think we have Faz with us. Faz, did you manage to see those numbers? And I was asking, what should we make of them?
My apologies again. I don't know what's happening today. It's a bit of a crazy afternoon. I didn't hear. I just heard the intro to the Jason Holder question. Just give the issue on the numbers again.
All right, let's have another look at the numbers for Fazeer. So we're looking first of all at the bowling numbers. His last 6 matches, 7 wickets, best of 2 for 24, 75.28 is average, economy rate 2.86, strike rate 157.5. That's picking up a wicket almost every 26 overs. And then as far as the batting is concerned, just 145 runs in those matches, highest score of 45, averaging 16.22, strike rate 31.39, no hundreds, no half centuries in that period for Jason Holder. And this dating back to December 15, 2021. I was saying, I know that there were a few series he was not involved in any at all, but the numbers are not trending in the right direction. What should we be thinking about Jason Holder right now?
We should be thinking maybe he should go to off spin, because that's what he was bowling towards the end of this match. Maybe he's trying to do a Gary Sobers as well, without offering that off spin element to his game. But in all seriousness, I think the issue would have to be about the amount of cricket that he would have played, and 2, his increasing focus on the franchise format. Remember, I raised this point earlier last year when he opted out of one of the series. I'm trying to remember if it was the Bangladesh series, but had made himself available for franchise cricket, but said he needed a break from one of those brief test series. And again, the question would have to be, not questioning his commitment. I will never question Jason Holder's commitment, because I have seen it with my own eyes, his level of dedication to the cause of West Indies cricket. And he took a lot of flack as captain, and Lance and George. We discussed this very often together with Mariah about the amount of criticism he had to bear and how he took on that responsibility, and how his numbers were impressive as an all-rounder, top all-rounder rated at the time. I think what is happening now could be an issue as to workload, the issue of focus, the issue of really having to spend time on the franchise formats, and not really working as much as he would usually do on his test game, because I think Jason Holder merits selection on the basis of his overall record. But as you say, with those numbers, there certainly questions have to be asked about his declining effectiveness for the West Indies in the test match format.
Yeah, is there a fix for it in the short term? Because we need Jason Holder. Shannon Gabriel so often injured. Kemar Roach coming to the back end of his career now. Zara Joseph has been bowling well, so that's good. And then there are the spinners. But Jason Holder, when he's playing well, adds that dimension, both with the bat and with the ball, that is important for the success of the West Indies Test team. So how do we fix this?
I suppose it's down to the individual himself, because he must know how bad those numbers are. And really, it's about getting it right. I mean, even that drop catch how many times would we have seen someone like a Jason Holder miss an opportunity like that? Doesn't happen very often because he's got one of the safest pair of hands. So it has to be about focus. Maybe it's about just having that discussion with Andre Coley and understanding where he's at with his own game, because one of the challenges will always be, and this is the issue right now, you have BBL, BPL, all sorts of L's, you have the ILT20, you have SA20, you have PSL coming up, IPL. For a lot of players with their agents and discussions going on about who do you sign up for, it's a distraction. It can be a distraction. Is it a distraction now for Jason Holder? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We don't know. We are looking on from thousands of miles away. But the numbers tell a story. And I think it's really up to the individual. And indeed those close enough to, whether it's Craig Brathwaite, the captain, whether, as I said, Andre Coley or anyone else within the team structure, to really try and get inside his head and understand that, look, you are of value to the West Indies as a test cricketer. What needs to be done? Is it about more time in the nets? Is it about some discussion, some dialogue, some application issues, something that is causing him to lose focus? But I think Jason Holder needs to be given that bit of leeway to allow him to regain his best for the West Indies.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one, Faz. I think he's too important a player for this conversation not to be had, and for us to start seeing a turnaround in terms of the quality of the performances from Jason Holder. Well, Faz, that stumps on day number 5 of this opening test from Bulawayo. The second test will be in Bulawayo again, and we'll be sure to link with you then to chat more about West Indies cricket.
And hopefully I'll be a little more reliable with the link up next time. Take care.
Don't worry, Faz. You get some leeway like Jason Holder as well. That's it for our West Indies cricket segment. Stay with us. When we return, we'll be talking about women's cricket, West Indies women's cricket.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.